Hi everyone, it's Brett. It seems that corruption exists. Hey, there's a game that covers that topic. Metroid Prime 3 Corruption was released on August 27th, 2007. I have played the first two Prime games a while back, and now I'm finally deciding to play this game. I am playing this on the Metroid Prime Trilogy version, and I am not really sure what the differences are, if any, except the original title screen is gone. Well, I'm ready to start the corruption. Seems like things are off to a good start since it seems the cutscene got corrupted. Glad to see Dark Samus's presence already. I guess that was just some kind of dream sequence? This is a pretty interesting way to open the game. Anyway, starting off in the ship is a good way to teach the motion controls. Getting to click buttons is enjoyable to me for the most part. There is some decent stuff to interact with while in the ship. Anyway, the cutscene of Samus's ship is fun to watch, and this new ship design is very interesting and cool. The way Samus gets out of her ship is clever since it acts as landing gear too. Nice to see that there's some shooting training. The Federation armor looks really cool, especially the visor. The shape and color looks spot on. Also cool to see that there is voice acting in the game. I would call that a welcome addition. There is another buttons interaction segment with motion controls. I do not think this is adding a whole lot to the game, but it is an interesting novelty. Using motion controls to move this switch around is pretty fun. It's just a little finicky sometimes when doing these parts. It is so cool to walk in this room to see these other bounty hunters Samus will be working with, and also Samus 2 will be working with. Fun way to introduce a new character. There is a good story reason for these characters to be here too. Basically, these supercomputers got infected with a virus due to the space pirates, and it's the bounty hunter's job to go to one of the spots the infected computers are and fix them, while investigating the pirate shenanigans too, of course. Well, this meeting was interesting and well made by the developers, but is not action-packed, which is not really a problem anymore because the space pirates started a surprise attack. So the bounty hunters need to stop the pirates from disabling the defense system down on the planet. This is a cool way to start off some action. Then there is a ship explosion. Even though that's a good guy ship, it's still cool to watch. So this is the first time I get to take on the space pirates, and I find it to be pretty fun to shoot at them, even with the motion controls. It feels a little weird though to lock on an enemy and still have to aim with the remote. Makes the gameplay a little more difficult, but I do not necessarily find it to be bad. It's kind of fun. It's just another control style at the end of the day. I thought trying to get the energy cell back was an interesting way to have a battle segment. Later, Samus goes to a trash disposal place and the water looks pretty good to me. I mean, how it looks. I'm certain that might be lethal to drink. Getting Samus pulled into space is crazy cool, although the chances of finding a hatch to get back in the ship seem pretty small. First upgrade is missiles. I like the missiles. I shot the door with a missile. I don't know how that blew up the stuff blocking the door opening mechanism. There's the ship. What could go wrong? Well, that does not seem like a great sign. It's boss fight time. Shooting the 2 weak points is fun. I got confused why I was not doing any damage though. If enough orbs that he emits are shot back at him, it will expose his weak point. He starts dying real quick after that. This is an enjoyable fight. It was satisfying to take him out and watch him embarrass himself. He's coming back. Okay, maybe not. That whole first section was a pretty good tutorial. It gave plenty of time and space to try out the controls, gives good ways to learn how abilities work, and the enemy encounters are fun, plus not super tough. Flying down to the planet looks neat, and seeing Samus' ship flying through the fighting and structures is really cool. I like how the turrets are firing at the enemy, and seeing one get blown up is a nice detail. The grapple lasso gets acquired here, and the look of it partially changing Samus' hand and arm is a neat design. Having to cast the nunchuck controller forward to unleash the grapple and having to pull it backward to tear things off is pretty satisfying. This level has a nice layout. There are plenty of corridors that allow for focused, straightforward combat. I feel like this works well for learning the basics of the game's combat. Ripping shields off enemies is a fun idea. It is enjoyable to do. It's interesting having to fight an enemy ship that's flying around. There is a super fun cutscene that shows the ice guy taking out 4 ships like it's nothing. The cutscene creators did a great job putting this one together. This remote ship landing ability is so awesome. The ship looks so cool flying in. I feel like a really rich bounty hunter. Well, this sure is a big area. It's a very vertical area too. Anyway, there's something that is on its way to crash into the planet where Samus is at. Probably not that big of a deal. I just have to help defend this place. Look at this guy using Phazon to power himself up. Those are some great benefits. I couldn't imagine there would be any side effects from doing this. Sadly, I didn't get to fight a corrupt Federation trooper. Oh yeah, it's exciting to see Ridley show up. Now might be a good time to save. It's fun to see this guy in action. I like how different he is from the ice guy. He has a supermassive suit and is super thin. I like the contrast. I really like using the morph ball to go through the pipe kind of structures. It's just fun. It got incredibly more fun when Ridley showed up. Having to dodge his attacks and bomb him while he keeps Samus stuck in a tight space is really clever and creative. This bounty hunter shows off her skills to Samus. It seems a little overpowered to be able to transform and use the abilities of an entity. That's still cool though. There is a large section of pipes in this room. There are sections where Samus gets blasted upwards, which looks fun. So I fell down on accident again. Anyway, I guess I powered up the place or something. Oh wait, what? Is that Ridley? I guess this should have been somewhat expected. So does this count as falling down on accident? This fight is so incredibly cool. Falling and shooting Meta Ridley is so much fun. He's firing some kind of fire breath laser, he's scraping the walls, and I think the panels are flying off because of it. That is a creative attack. Shooting at him is super satisfying. Then he grabs Samus and it becomes a battle from point blank range. Having to aim shots before he makes an attack creates some fun action. Then Ridley falls above Samus, which is fun. It's pretty awesome when he comes flying towards Samus firing fireballs. I don't think I realized that the meter numbers seem to be signifying that Samus splats when it reaches 0. This gives the fight a more intense feeling. Samus finishes Ridley in an epic, down-to-business way. Ice Sky, how long have you been flying behind Samus? Don't you think you could have helped out sooner? Anyway, the meteor is going to destroy this place in around 4 minutes. The only way to stop it is to get to the control tower and fire a cannon at it. So I have 4 minutes. That should be enough time. I went the wrong way by mistake. It looks like the game over screen is getting covered in Fruit Punch, right? Yeah, that's Fruit Punch. Please be Fruit Punch. Wow, I didn't know that Fruit Punch could be this disturbing. I really wish there was a countdown timer. Other Metroid games are known for that, so why in the world is it not here? Once getting to the location, Dark Samus decides to crash the party. Everybody gets a little too much phase on and Dark Samus heads out. Samus gets up to stop the meteor, which is entertaining to see blow up, before she takes a nap. For 1 month! Whoa! That's what I call an unexpected time jump. Anyway, when Samus wakes up, the Federation tells Samus that she is self-generating Phazon. This is Dark Samus's power source. This can't be good. I guess it's fine though, because Samus is being told there are no negative effects. She got a PED installed in her armor for free, I guess. Now she has a Phazon enhancement device, or PED. Samus didn't even have to ask. She got a PED installed in her armor for free, I guess. This new power is strong, and it's noticeable when testing it out for the first time. The interesting caveat is that it costs energy, which is the health bar. I find this to be a cool gameplay mechanic. Anyway, the new suit has an interesting design. I like how some of it's gray. Some of the suit looks kind of foreign now, and I think it works with the corruption theme. Meteors that are called Leviathans landed on some planets, which is corrupting them. So some of the bounty hunter team was sent to those planets to destroy the Leviathans, and Gandrada was sent to find the space pirates' base. They all went with their complementary PED devices, or Phazon Enhancement devices. PED devices was a supercomputer's words, not mine. Anyway, the Federation lost contact with the bounty hunters. So this basically means Samus has to do the group project by herself. The planet called Brio makes a great first impression visually. The bright magma-looking colors along with the jagged rocks looks fascinating. Also, the chains connecting the planets look really cool. I like the ice bridge and also all the ice bits in the world. It has a nice look and is a good contrast to the heated aesthetic. These alien boomerang throwers not only have a unique weapon, they also look interesting. This arena has a broken statue on the floor, which makes for fascinating terrain to look at and fight on. The grapple swing gets acquired next, and it's fun to use, even if it isn't successful sometimes. I haven't really used hyper mode much, mainly because I don't want to lose my health. However, the game did tell me to use it and it made the enemy's destruction so much quicker. This really gives me a power trip. Also, the game happened to give me health back here. So Samus is having a suit problem or something. Phazon is being overloaded and has to be expelled. Having to get rid of enough Phazon quickly is a great gameplay mechanic. It's fun and exciting, and since it only happens sometimes when using hyper mode, it gives an interesting risk when using the ability. So Rundus is just standing around and walks away. I wouldn't say that's a great sign. I really like Rundus taking out some enemies, just to make it seem like he is still chill, but then he attacks Samus and she is not happy about that. This act showed that Dark Samus corrupted him. Anyway, the music for the fight is very good. Interesting fight, but I couldn't figure out how to damage him for a while. I kept shooting at him and I kept trying to hit him with my Phazon for some time. I finally figured out that I had to use the grapple beam, and I died shortly afterwards. I don't like the idea of taking damage from using the grapple beam on him when he is elevated. I'm not even that close to him. Other than this happening, it is very fun to pull off his defense. I'm going to have to blame not knowing to use the grapple beam on myself. There's a similar flashing color to other grapple-compatible things. Shooting ice projectiles is fun and works well with the motion controls. It can be easy to lose track of him, which I think is annoying, but I can see how it makes the player have to be extra alert to keep sight of him. It's not necessarily bad, and does make things extra engaging. Swinging a piece of ice is a cool looking move. It kind of looks like he broke from his corrupted state when he is defeated, and seems to be motioning for help. Wow, this guy got his life taken away from him in a brutal way, which the cutscene emphasizes. So Dark Samus takes his life essence or something, and I think this falls in line with how Dark Samus would act. The ice missile is a fitting upgrade. I very much like that it makes platforms on the lava looking stuff. Also, the freezing of the pouring stuff looks really nice. So I have to destroy the shield generator protecting the Leviathan. Nice objective idea. Needing to explore this area to free the statue so it can help unveil the path forward is fun and visually interesting. So the Phazon suit the Federation gave Samus is helping put her in a lethal state. The Federation did not mean for this to happen, but it's okay because they said they are sorry. So there is a ship missile upgrade. The shield generator gets to be destroyed by using this power. I only have to scan something to use this ability, but it looks so sweet. Later on, I figured out I could shoot enemies with the ship. I find this feature to be so over the top, and it's wonderful. The Moganar boss located at the Leviathan Seed has an interesting design. Him having to pull orbs towards him that need to be shot in the air is a unique idea. His weak points being vulnerable at certain points makes for a fun concept, but sometimes irritating gameplay because the weak points sometimes open for a small amount of time. Sometimes they open and close so fast to where it would have made almost no difference for them to open at all. I lost most of my energy, and hyper mode becomes unusable when down to the last energy tank. The boss seems to demand I use it in order to damage it for the most part. The game isn't handing out energy that much either, so it's sort of like a loss before death. There's barely anything that can be done when this happens, and I find it to be a frustrating problem in the game. Anyway, the boss has to be morph ball bombed at the feet. Death by foot. That's a terrible way to go. He didn't even kick me. I just crashed. Anyway, there's a fourth weak point, and this one just feels like overkill since the other ones were stubborn enough. I don't think this one is as annoying, but after how the first three went, I don't welcome this part that much. I think the concept of the fight is good, I just think the execution could have been better in some areas. So Samus becomes even more corrupt after defeating the boss. This disgusts me. Literally. Hyperball is the next upgrade. This new Morph Ball power is a chaotic bundle of satisfaction. Fun little tutorial for a fun little ability. Blasting Phazon at this thing causing the problem feels awesome, and Samus tops off this power display by not looking at the explosion and then flying away from another explosion. The Elysia planet is up next, and I really like the appearance of the area. The goal here is to get the Aurora unit purged of corruption. Great to see the Hyperball already being needed at the beginning of this place. Shooting things and swinging around is a fun combination. Zooming around in the sky is very fun. It feels like a roller coaster, and shooting things out of the way is implemented again with this, which is nice. The robot enemies are pretty cool. They have a unique design, and shooting them to pieces feels extra satisfying compared to shooting other enemies. I like how the parts go flying off when a missile is used. I also like that they themselves go flying off when a missile is used. These robots are combat candy. I wonder what it feels like blasting out of a cannon. It's probably fun since it looks fun. I feel like this level strikes a good balance of being inside and outside. Being outside in the vast cloudy sky and being inside of the steampunk-like environment is a good creative contrast. I like the little robots roaming around the area. I like the foreshadowing of one of the bounty hunters by having his empty suit out in the open. Samus breaks off a big chunk of Skytown. Initially, she looks at what happened real quick. But when the camera pans back to her, she starts walking away like she didn't do anything. Well, this seems simple, but of course the upgrade couldn't be that easy to acquire. A robot boss makes sense given the other enemies. The circle part that goes to the ground really looked like a morph ball slot. I learned this is not the case. Why didn't they just make it a square to make it less confusing? This was a fine enough fight. boost ball time. I like the boost, however, I feel like there should be a little less boosting for these contraptions. I have to spin around them multiple times. It just gets a little boring. I got to the Aurora unit by spinning. I got rid of its corruption and then Gore drops by and destroys some important communication stuff. He basically says there's no chance of destroying the Leviathan seed unless the Aurora unit is restored, which is an oddly hopeful thing to say for being corrupted. I think this shows that he has not been completely consumed by corruption. Or I'm looking too much into it. Anyway, to fix Gore's mess, I got to get his plasma power.
Gore may have changed, Silas. Be prepared to deal with that. Good luck.
What do you mean? I just dealt with that. It's interesting to hear that Samus's ship is in the process of getting totaled. It's so neat seeing Gore go destroyer mode on Samus's ship from a distance, and even neater seeing him break it from close up. This is one of my favorite cutscenes for the fact that he threw the ship. The fact that the ship can fly after that is astonishing. I like that the developers made his eyes glow briefly. This gives that extra sinister tone. I really like that this fight took place at the ship landing location. Having to fire the ice missiles on the hot part of the ground to make him crash is a cool idea. He has some fun attacks to dodge. I like that there is a clear animation that shows his weak spot. It's fun to see him throw Samus in Morph Ball mode. Using the Morph Ball makes it easier to approach him with his flame laser. Maybe it's possible to bomb him without him doing that attack, but I don't know. I remember that I can use Phazon, which is useful. I really like this fight. Dark Samus once again takes someone's life. I don't know why Samus isn't using Phazon to stop her, but to be fair, I have not been using it much, so this is an accurate representation of my gameplay. Plasma Beam is unlocked after the fight, and it feels astonishing to fire. It just looks overpowered. It also melts the robots, which just adds to the combat candy. I do find welding with the Plasma Beam to be pretty satisfying. Looks like it's time for some backtracking, and I sure am down for that. The ship repaired itself. Not sure how it did that. I went to the planet where I fought Ridley. I really appreciate the detail of the Federation restoring this area. I went to the wrong planet because I can't open this door. At least I got to look at this cool ship sort of thing. I went back to the lava type of planet and found this interaction. So there's this whole other section that is frozen. The dimension warp to get there was cool. I thought this was going to be the same whole world, but frozen. Turns out this isn't really the case. This is just a small frozen section. I think the length works because this part of the game serves as a tutorial for the screw attack ability. I can jump multiple times and wall jump. Feels great! I still can't escape the abyss though. I have returned to Skytown to wall jump. I thought this bridge had a fun design. I already liked the grapple beam, so it's pretty easy to infer that I felt the same way about the ship grapple beam. So naturally, the next step in the game is to make a bomb utilizing the ship power. Having to acquire bomb parts with the ship is a pretty sweet idea. I think Samus tapping her arm cannon to control her ship is confusing. There are no buttons on that thing. She just keeps tapping. At least it looks cool. Great to see the ship grapple in action, and this helps lead the way to make the observatory function. It's really interesting that there's information on planets from this game and every other previous Metroid Prime game here. Successfully dodged that guy. This seems like a Metroid maze. Pretty fascinating, and the place looks great. Well, in an environment art sort of way. Looks nice and ominous. Sadly, I couldn't find this morph ball place for a little while, so I thought I was soft locked. The Phazon looking Metroid are cool looking when locked up. The quintuple missile shot is a nice ability. It has a fun lock-on feature. I was a little unnerved when the Metroids broke free, even though I figured they would go loose. This makes for a unique moment in the game. It's still enjoyable to backtrack some in order to use the new ability. The bomb has to be dropped manually on the Leviathan shield, and I get the option to pass up the opportunity to do this task? Well, I'm not doing that. Part of Skytown breaks off, and I was not expecting to go on this thing with the bomb. While going towards the shield, there are enemies trying to stop this bomb threat. I really like how what would normally be the boss health bar is the one not to drain down. This time the health bar is for the structure carrying the bomb. There's just a bunch of familiar enemies from before, but in this context, the fight is more intense and exciting. Anyway, when the escape pod has to be fixed, this is when things get even more interesting. This was a clever way to incorporate welding. I kept thinking I was done welding and I couldn't proceed, so that was funny, looking back at it, not in the moment. This is a great cutscene. I really like how the escape pod struggles to work. It's nice to finally see the explosion, and it looks masterful. This sequence might be one of the coolest parts of the game. It's now time for the boss. This boss has plenty of moves and formations with these flying bots. It's pretty cool and impressive. The tornado move has to be dodged with the morph ball, so I found this to be an extra fun part of the fight. I like that this boss goes along with the mechanical theme of Skytown. Anyway, there was some more Samus corrupting nonsense. This hyper missile upgrade makes me feel too powerful, and it's great. Seems like basically the same cutscene from last time, except the exploding bits burst out in a little bit of a different way. I like the mission briefings in the ship. It makes the game feel more epic. I'm being told to go to the pirate homeworld to get rid of the corruption there. The Federation is planning to attack it at some point, but they're not ready yet. This makes it convenient for me to go in alone. Also, I'm on the lookout for Gandrada. I guess I can just assume that everyone is her, just to be safe. I really like the look of this planet from far off and at the surface. The textures and also the red and blue colors look really interesting. Plus, the mechanical nature of this place seems fitting for the pirate's homeworld. Samus's face looks corrupted. That's a cool detail. The X-ray visor is neat. This new power has so far allowed me to press symbols. Find them and press them in a certain order to be exact. Symbols are pressed at the beginning of the game, but I guess I wasn't expecting them here since I kinda thought the button pressing segments at the beginning of the game were just to help teach the motion controls. This is fun enough. I can also see things to shoot, which is fun. A lone trooper is asking for help. Gandrada can shapeshift. I think there might be a correlation here. It was neat working with this trooper for a bit. I feel like Samus is smarter than to just trust this guy, but to her credit, she did dodge the attacks without really looking at him, so I'm inclined to believe she just wanted to do a cool dodge. This was a fun fight. I like how she used a bunch of different forms. Turning into previous bounty hunters was interesting. I liked when she turned into Samus. The giant laser blast is cool. Why can't I do that? The outside being opened up was a neat change to the arena. Her jumping onto Samus was kind of freaky, but it was a creative attack. I like that the new visor was included to help with seeing her when she went invisible. Very long boss fight, but kept me interested. Maybe I didn't use Phazon enough to make it quicker? It was cool how she was dying in multiple of her forms. Saying that is kind of morbid. I got confused when I saw Samus dying, but then I understood and found it to be foreboding. This is a pretty dark scene, and I think Samus's reaction helps sell that. Along with Gandrada screaming, of course. You just can't have a dark scene without Dark Samus. Well, the grapple voltage upgrade is acquired after this, and I do find it enjoyable enough to use, even though the joystick just needs to be moved back and forth. I did some backtracking to use this ability. I'm going to take a shortcut. That didn't work at all. The transportation broke, and I thought this was a clever way to trap the player into getting the next power. Flipping up this gear and shooting it seems out of place, and really fun. The spider ball is a cool returning ability. The way the game teaches you the ability is fun and cool to look at. The second part of the tutorial has you go back from where you came from in a different way. Very interesting. Going back to the pirate homeworld, it had this self-spin tower maze that was very fun. This would help lead to what was an excellent way to present this power-up for acquisition. The hazard shield upgrade makes acid rain non-lethal, which is pretty nice. It also makes the armor look nice. There's a good battle to go along with this power-up, and there's a cool acid rain color change to the suit. That actually was probably always there when I was in this stuff before. This energy beam arena is a cool idea. The pirates need to be spared so that they get pulled into the device to get the weakness of it to show up. I did kill all the enemies for some time. The game doesn't exactly explain to you that you need to spare them. The Nova Beam looks so cool. Very fun to shoot with it. Being able to shoot through objects is fun to do. I like to call it the green beam. The Federation needs the pirate base defense to be disabled, and the sequence to do that is pretty well done. Having to go up a fair distance while fighting enemies and then going back down to take out weak points was satisfying. Then I had to go back up. I will say that was somewhat repetitive. The cutscene of the ships fighting the enemy is cool to see. Working with Federation troopers was a cool mission. They have an awesome design. Having to prevent too many from dying was an interesting idea. I thought the level design was well done for this mission. These troopers had a death sound I was not expecting. I only lost 5 out of the 12 and only needed 4 to blow up the place. I only see 2 now after the mission though. I'm going to assume the others went on lunch break. Omega Ridley was an exciting boss. I like the cutscene when Ridley appears. Not only was it fun to see these two interact, it also shows where Ridley's weakness is located. Having to use the visor, grapple, and of course Phazon made the fight dynamic and intriguing. Using the grapple to expose his weak point made sense and was fun to do. Dodging attacks and shooting fireballs was all very fun. Ridley using his tail and fire breath at the same time was very creative. The end of the attack might have been a little too tight of a window to dodge though. Ridley flying above was a fun way to change up the fight. This does reveal a problem with the game's controls, which I also experienced previously. I think it's just hard to look up and turn at the same time. It's just a little clunky and awkward to look up in general sometimes. Anyway, I didn't lose too much health. I am playing on normal, so that might have something to do with it. Either the boss fight was easy, or I am just that good. Also, he was actually dealing a very low amount of damage. I even got hit and didn't take damage. I guess the game hasn't been that tough for the most part, but I digress. Overall, I liked the fight. We shall fight again in another game. Then I saw that explosion. Would love to see how Ridley got out of that one. The reward was another grapple beam upgrade. I found this to be kinda lame. All it does is make it more powerful and that's it. I can understand why this was chosen though. It's the hyper grapple and other abilities got the hyper add-on, so it makes sense. There just isn't anything that exciting about it from what I can tell. I mean, this sure is riveting gameplay. Anyway, the corrupt thing gets blown up again and more explosions ensue after that. So the next step is to go back to a planet to help gain access to another planet called Phase, which is where Dark Samus lives, I guess. Well, that sounded like the end of the game, so I went to the abandoned Federation ship again instead. I haven't really talked about this part because I could go to it fairly early in the game, and it's essentially designed to make the player keep coming back. It's a cool looking and interesting area. This brings me to the Metroid Hatcher boss, because one is found here. I'll talk about my thoughts on the first one I fought though. I don't like the spin attack. It seems a little too hard to avoid, although I might be playing a tad poorly. Sometimes trying to pull off one tentacle didn't even work. I am not sure if it was the motion controls, a glitch, or an intentional design choice, but I'm pretty sure I was doing the same motions last time and it worked. At least fighting the Metroids was fun. Anyway, I fought the Metroid Hatcher at the abandoned Federation ship. It can be destroyed faster by using the visor along with the green beam. Anyway, I found some Space Pirate code that seems to be important to beating the game. That's a tad confusing. I just went here to explore more. So going to the previously advised location, I did something that allows a way to make a wormhole to the distant planet Phase by using a Leviathan. I don't really know how that works. So there's a nice long cutscene that goes from wormhole to a beautiful planet design. Yep, looks can be deceiving. Plus there's a whole space battle going on. I really enjoy the scope that this game goes to. Phase has a look that works well for a planet that has lots of Phazon. Samus does aesthetically fit very well in this environment. Uh-oh. I guess she fits in too well. So it turns out venting all energy tanks allows for permanent hyper mode. I hope there's no side effects. Oh wait, I die if the yellow Phazon bar on the top of the screen fills up all the way. Neat planet, there's some vertical drops, these transparent possible plant things, and interesting traversal. I got to use the morph ball a bit and that was fun. Falling down put me in this situation at one point, which was a cool thing to happen. Ultimately, there's one last pit to fall down. In style, of course. Then finally, the Dark Samus fight begins. Dark Samus was a cool and fun fight. The way she splits up is a very awesome looking animation. Getting to use the visor to figure out where the real one of her is makes for a neat shakeup for the fight, although having to use it takes away from the vibrant colors. Looking back at it, I could have used it less and just remembered where she was, although she resets to where you need to use the visor ability to easily find her again. Her moving around in quick succession was a perplexing move. I am not sure I was dodging it the intended way. A lot of the way she moves through the arena is very intriguing, and that makes it even more fun to shoot her down. The double beam spin around attack was cool. Naturally, after she's been repulsed, that's what the game says, she then phases through an Aurora unit. I really appreciate the detail of the unit being stolen and having to fight a corrupted version of it. It fits the theme of the game and is a great contrast from the times the unit was helping Samus out and vice versa. The fight is fun, although I didn't quite understand how to get to the weak point. I kept blasting these dangly things, which is fun, but it didn't really seem to do much of anything. This other part would come out eventually every now and then, and I found it very tough to shoot. Shooting that seemed to bring the boss down sooner. Shooting the dangly things enough times also did bring down the boss eventually. The idea was fine, however I did get confused on if I was doing the fight correctly at times. Grappling the weak point, shielding and hitting it was very satisfying. Anyway, having Dark Samus clones return in this fight was something I welcomed. The final phase of it floating was fun because of having to get an angle to hit the weak point. There was a lot of looking up, which made the laser attack hard to keep track of sometimes. Overall, I do like how much the motion controls were used in a meaningful way for this fight. After this, Dark Samus gets her own death scene, supposedly. This is quite convenient because Samus is now not corrupt. I thought there might be an escape sequence to get to the ship before the planet explodes. Sadly, there isn't, and also the Federation just starts to leave without Samus. I guess they contacted her before they left, but I think it's unclear. Somehow she made it out of there, and she sent a nifty transmission to the Federation ship. There are also bonus ending cutscenes, which is nice. I really enjoyed my time with this game. I had some rough patches with it, but I overall just found this to be a really fun experience. The exploration, the combat, the story, the level design, and other stuff was done quite well. Looking back at it, I would have liked to 100% the game, but at this point I would have to start back at the beginning of the game because the reality is, I saved my file into a new game. It would have been much more fitting if my save file got corrupted instead.